Big blind against cutoff. Cutoff, big blind probably does not have any donks here, so we're going to check range. Certainly check this hand. They check it back. Got ace high. I think they're checking back a lot of ace high. Some pairs, but some other air. So we've got a good amount of showdown value, I think, against the check back range. I don't think we really gain much by betting. We get better hands to call and worse hands to fold mostly. So against this bet size, I think we get to fold. Against a small bet size, I think we probably have to call. It's mostly call, so it is close, which means against the smaller bet size, I'm rather confident we do call. All right, next hand. That's fine, but we want to mostly call there. All right, monotone boards. I don't think we're usually going to have too many donks. So we check, and they're supposed to, they do check. Now, I think, we hit the jack some. We've still got all the flushes in our range because we're probably just checking range on flop. So I think we get some leads here. This feels like a pretty good hand to lead. We can get some ace high, king high to fold, maybe occasionally a pair. And we've got a good amount of equity when called, queen high flush draw plus a gutter butter and an overcard. I'm going to say, though, I think on these boards we don't bet big. So I'm actually going to use the small bet. Maybe it's the medium size. I don't think it's the large sizes. It's the large sizes. Totally wrong. And they had a flush. Hilarious. Okay, so how big of a mistake is that? Oh, it's not really a mistake EV-wise. Look at that. These numbers are really tiny, so I'll read them all for you, which is it's 5 different bet sizes. It's check and then, bet, third, half, 3/4, pot, and pot and a half. And the EV is 2.95, 2.95, 2.95, 2.95, 2.96, 2.95. So the solver prefers the medium to large bet sizes in this spot with this hand and overall in the spot, but it doesn't seem to matter that much. Even though is it calling this an error? It's calling it an error, but the average EV loss is 0. That's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with averaging 0 EV loss on my errors. This type of board, I don't think we have any donks. Ace Jack probably isn't a check raise either. I think on this card, we're probably checking and betting river for value. Flushes did come in. We're actually mostly betting this card, so I was off there. And against this overbet size, it's pretty gross. I imagine we're meant to call with top pair, top kicker, even though we don't have any flushy things. Yeah, it's a pure call. And if the river bricks off, I think we probably have to call. That's quite a bricky brick. They can have aces up. They can have some flushes that they checked back, flush draws. For a full pot bet, I don't know. What do you think? You think this is a call? I think this is, like, in game, it's rough, right? If somebody's got the bluffs they're supposed to have, I imagine we're supposed to call, though. No, it's a pure fold. We get to fold this hand. I kind of want to click through. Oh, actually, I don't even have to open a new tab, right? It automatically opens a new tab. You basically just click on the action that was a mistake, and it'll show you your decision tree there. So ace jack with the jack of diamonds, right? Yep. Okay, so that's the hand that mixes. We want the jack of diamonds. If we don't have it, we get to just fold. So top pairs that are calling are ones with like ace 9 with the 9 of diamonds actually gets check raise jam bluffed some. So we need a diamond in order to call. And actually with ace 8, with the 8 of diamonds, we just straight up turned it into a bluff. Ace 4 is aces up. Ace 3 and ace deuce make better calls than ace jack. Ace jack must be like blocking some of their bluffs then. That's the only reason that makes any sense. Like, why would you call with ace deuce, but you fold ace jack? Well, because they're not value betting ace 10, right? So that makes sense. If we go back one step, we can go back to their action, right? And we're going to see that their pot size bets, we'll just highlight pot size bet there. We can see queen jack, that's for value. So obviously the jack of diamonds is nice. Queen 10, there, that doesn't really make any difference. Jacks, they're bluffing with some jacks. So that's why we fold if we have the jack of hearts or jack of clubs, or even maybe the jack of spades. Okay, sure. And obviously the ace deuce, ace 3 doesn't block anything, right? Except for top pair hands, which are irrelevant. So blocking bluffs is very bad. That's basically the moral of the story. And ace jack off blocks some bluffs. Okay, so now we know. We'll close that. Next hand. And that was a significant error, but you'll notice like the average, the EV loss was less than one big blind, even though we called off 22 blinds. And this is, I'm going to just make a philosophical point because whatever, who cares, it's my stream. When we call it off for pot, like it's 22 blinds. Let's say we're playing 5-10, $220 they bet. We call it off and they have it, right? They have a flush or whatever they have. We're like, oh, I made a $220 mistake. No. Unless this is a player who literally never bluffs and, you know, they're only value betting better for that size, right? That's fair. But unless it's a player who literally never bluffs, it's not a $220 mistake. Here, against somebody with an optimal strategy, it's not even a $10 mistake. It's like an $8.20 mistake. These days, you can't even get 2 gallons of gas for that anymore. I don't know. Now I know I live on the West, I guess not coast anymore, but because I'm counting dollars and gallons of gas. That's horrible. That is what have you done to me? California and Nevada and inflation and wars and okay, enough of that. The point being, it's actually a small mistake against somebody playing theoretically correct. Against somebody over bluffing, it's actually probably a good exploit. And against somebody who is never bluffing, it then is actually a $220 mistake or a 22 blind mistake, whatever your stakes are. All right, we're going to check and I think fold this hand. Yes, we have a backdoor straight draw, but that's about it. Now we have a actual straight draw. And do we want to lead this? I don't think we get a ton of ace high to fold. We probably get some better king high to fold. It's not the best straight draw either. I think we check, but we might mix in some bets. If we bet, I bet it's like, I don't know what sizing, maybe mid. Yeah, it's actually mostly betting. We do some overbets. Let's think about our range here at a moment, right? I probably have 8-6 suited, for sure. For sure I have 8-6 suited. I have ace-3 suited. Against the cutoff, I don't believe I have ace-3 off. I don't have 6-3 off, but I might have 6-3 suited at this point. So we are going to have a lot of hands. I actually kind of like turning this into a bluff now. I think we can also call. I don't think there's a fold ever. Yeah, pure check raise bluff. So I kind of cheated that hand, right? And how is that? Well, I saw that my flop check was like the low percentage play. So if you're usually supposed to bet a hand, like most of the time and even like overbet, then I thought about the range, right? Which is actually good work. But if you think about that and then you see that they bet, then it's like you're probably going to check raise that a lot, especially against a small bet size. Let's take a look at our range here. We'll pop it up. 8-6 suited is in range. Ace-3 suited is in range. Ace-3 off is not. And 6-3 suited, it looks like, does not take this line at all. But we can go back to the turn and look at our range as well, right? This is very useful. This is like what percentage of each hand we have. Ace-3 suited, we got a bunch of it at that point. 6-3 suited is overall in range, but it's just pure bet right at that point. So, and we can click through there because, like, why not? Whatever. Oh, are we replaying this? Why are we replaying this? I don't understand. Okay, let's say that we bet and they just fold. Do they fold? Yeah, they fold. They fold. Now I can go and click into the B, and we will see what's going on here. We are betting all of our 6-3, most of our 8-6, and some of our ace-3. So ace-3 is the straight that checks the most. Then the nuts. So third nuts, and then second nuts actually checks the least. And there is a lot of overbetting in this strategy, right? 13% of range, 27% of range goes kind of middle. Only like 41% of our range checks. This is a board that favors the out of position player. All right, let's go back. Next hand. All right, bottom pair, mid connected board. I think we might have a fair amount of check raises here. I don't think this is going to be one of them. It might be an okay semi bluff check raise occasionally. And here, I mean, we can deny equity, but I don't think we can get a lot of value. So I check, And it does say, yeah, you can bet large sum, probably to, you know, to deny equity. Betting small doesn't work as well. Why is this 275 there already? Oh, I'm the cutoff, people. I am the cutoff. Why didn't anybody tell me I was the cutoff? Okay, they bet half pot now that I have gone check, 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 and I think we can probably call this. No, I mean, they can they value bet like an 8 at this point? I feel like they can't value bet as many hands. Therefore, a lot of their one spade hands are maybe going to bluff. This might be close. Yeah, it's close. It's got the full Neapolitan. They did value bet 7-8, so that's interesting. And they are mostly supposed to do it, some for this sizing, some for a smaller sizing. We look at my hand, King 5. It didn't mind any of the streets. And it does look like, what is it? We're mostly calling. We can fold a little bit because call is not that plus EV. And we can raise a little, just like because, which I imagine is a bluff raise. Like if we raise this, let's replay this and let's raise the river. Let's see what happens. They're going to fold, right? So we're going to check it back, and it says, you can bet some, you can check some. You definitely want to use the larger sizings because it's this connected sort of board. And again, we can, oh no, now it's a pure check. Okay, it was them who wants to bet the turn sum with their hand. Now I'm going to raise, and we'll see what happens. Do they bet fold this? Yeah, they do. It's hilarious. So we have a hand that's worth a call, but we can also turn it into a bluff. And those are like very equal EV. Because our opponent is playing perfectly balanced. If our opponent wasn't playing perfectly balanced, the raise might be way more plus EV. And if they just like never fold anything better, then the raise is terrible. So that's how it works. Okay, top pair, top kicker. I have to imagine we're mostly betting on a board like this. I don't know. I haven't really been reviewing enough the notes I've been taking. So I mean, of course we're mostly betting or always betting. I think we can probably go somewhat on the larger size. Partially because it's so dynamic, right? Yeah, I'm going to do it. It likes it. Okay, it likes the large size. Basically, we want to get calls now because things are going to deteriorate. Now, top pair, top kicker, backdoor nut flush draw. I do not think it's going to be folding much. We're not really blocking a lot of hands we want to block. I mean, top set, sure, but bottom two sets and bottom two pair are really the only like really strong hands. I just don't think this is a hand we get to bet fold. It's not. We definitely call. And then on the turn jack, I think they can. Interesting. I feel like it's hard to get a lot of value here. I wouldn't be surprised if they're supposed to check a lot of range. So I'm going to go ahead and check this back. I think this is a hand that's like really pretty happy to get closer to showdown. And the river 3 has to help our hand, right? Because the only things we were really worried about losing to were like pocket 3s, 3-4 suited. Actually, there's the same number of combos of 3-4 suited, but there's 2 less combos of pocket 3s. There's still some 4s, and I'm trying to figure out whether I can value bet here. Like, can I bet small? Like, does it use this small size at all? Or is this just like check it back, take a showdown? Against a human, I think I'm like usually betting here, trying to get value from like king 9, queen 9, stuff like that. Yeah, let's go for it. It doesn't like this mid-sizing that often, but I'm going to use it anyway. Oh, it likes the mid-sizing. It also thinks it is very close to neutral. Like, you have to check it back some. This is weird. Like, they check raise with a backdoor flush draw, and then they pick up equity, and now they check. Let's see. On the turn, they were mostly supposed to bet, right? So they're just, this is their balance. This is their balance. This is mostly going to get bet. Very odd hand here. And they call $15 with ace high with a 6 kicker, even though the 6 blocks like 5-6 suited, which I think I have 4 combos of at this point. Maybe not. I don't know. Very strange hand, I think. Very strange. Interesting. And if we look down here, they're supposed to mix call, fold, and jam as a bluff. Yeah, you do that. Do that next time. Let me know how it goes. Report back. Report back on that. Okay. We've got bottom pair on a monotone board. Monotone boards, very little donking, very little check raising. I think not a ton of folding. So I think we call this, I mean, if we're folding pairs, this would be a pair that we can maybe fold sometimes. We do check raise this a little bit. Now I've got a 7 for a straight that also makes any 10 a straight. So if a 7 comes off, like, can I value bet? A 4, I don't think I can value bet my pair of 5s. I don't think this is a hand I turn into a bluff. Maybe a hand with a spade is what I turn into a bluff. I don't know. And if I'm facing a bet, I think it's a little tricky. We win the hand. Yay. All right. Top pair, decent kicker, rough board. Really rough board. So this is either a hand that we bet to deny equity, although I don't think like there's even that much equity to deny. So I think we're going to check this back a good amount of the time. It probably mixes. Yep, it mixes, and it checks a little bit more than half the time. Now on the turn, okay, they bet. So this just feels like straightforward. Yeah, we're going to call. We're in bluff catch mode. I don't think a raise makes a ton of sense, or any at all for that matter. So I do call. The range, you can see here, look how little folding is done against that bet size. Fold is like less than a quarter of the time, right? So we actually are exceeding the minimum defense frequency, which is uncommon. I mean, somewhat uncommon. Okay, so they check, and I don't think there's value to be had here. I mean, a 9 beats us. 9 probably value bets. Like against a human, this is more tempting to try and go for value, but I just don't think there's a lot of value here. Yeah, so there's not. That's like the hand that's probably the hand that will call us, a jack with the queen of diamonds that we beat. And then maybe hands like, 10 with the ace of diamonds or something. I don't think having a diamond blocker is that helpful for them because we probably bet a lot of our flushes by the flop or the turn, right? Or raise the turn. I don't know. Maybe it's useful. It's probably better than not having one. Anyway. This type of board, paired boards, I think we're usually betting small, like close to range. Yeah, so not quite range, but we're betting pretty often. And this is, the queen, I feel like we can either overbet or we can just check. I think the ace gives us enough showdown value. We mostly want to check. The 9 might help us get some more folds out of their range, even though those wouldn't really be hands that beat us. But it probably, there's some hands that might check raise us with the 9 of spades, like jack 9 of spades, 10 9 of spades. Maybe some other spades. Yeah, so there on the turn, we can bet. We can use a variety of sizings. Kind of hard to figure that one out. Like in terms of what we should do, kind of just like we can do anything. It's okay to bet. It's okay to check. Here, I don't think this is going to be a mandatory bet. I mean, can we get like 2s, 3s, 4s to fold? Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, so this is just a check down once we get there. On the turn, we can deny some equity along with maybe occasionally get value if they peeled a hand like, 8 and 10, 8 of spades. I don't know. It's hard to come up with all. All right, next. Actually, we will proceed pretty soon to the studying the ranges and whatnot. All right. These are hands that like I lean towards betting and continuing because I've got like suits that match the board. I'm not sure that is really that important. I am probably blocking some of their c-bet bluffs like ace 3 suited, ace 3 suited. Maybe they have some king 3 suited. I'm not sure on the cutoff. Probably a little. We might be able to just fold this. Pair with a spade, though. It's kind of tough. I'm going to hit fold and see what happens. Yeah, pure fold. And they had top 2 pair. And they did have, right? They have some king 3 suited there. So we don't really want to block those. Let's dig into just that one spot and see whether whether any other 3s. No, 3s, all these under pairs, it's just like, just throw them away. It's fine. 7s, you start to call a little bit with a spade, right? Just a little bit, especially with a spade and a club. So you do actually want those blockers. Right? If we click on 3s, I think, can we see the EV of the threes. Like, it doesn't really matter practically, but is minus 3.9 with the ones I had. And let's look at the opposite ones. It is minus 1.1. So actually, my instinct that I wanted those cards was correct. My second guessing that I didn't want those cards was incorrect. But that's okay. That's why we have the tools to look these things up, right? Okay. How loud is that? That's really loud, right? Yeah. Very squeaky chair. Very squeaky chair. Okay. Let's close these. Let us go to library. And now we are going to do the study portion, right? So we will go to 6 max cash, view, and we'll just get right into looking at the ranges, right? So as a reminder, I've got this chart that I'm building in terms of sort of minimum. These are big blind defense standards. Let's go to the RFI chart. And sometimes it's nice to just like look at this and kind of see like, okay, how different does it feel, right? More suited hands basically in the, and the big blind defense is not, that's big blind continue, right? Those hands are not all called. Obviously, we are 3-betting many of these hands. So we'll go to RFI. All right, we've got our low jack range, low jack folds. We've got our hijack range where we add some suited kings, we add some offsuit broadways, we add like 6s and 5s pure and ace deuce suited, and like queen 9 suited, jack 9 suited, whatever, 9 suited. We're folding there, and then now it is the cutoff. And let's look at the cutoff range. Cutoff is raising 29% here, right? 29% raising range. And this range now adds more suited connectors pure, right? Down through 8-7 suited. 9-7 suited is also pure. Any suited cards 8 and higher, queen 6 suited, down to king 3 suited. We've added all the offsuit broadways as well as ace 9 off. And the pocket pairs are still just down to 4s, right? So pocket 3s and 2s, solver's like, yeah, you can fold those in the cutoff some. And, you know, that's for 2.5x raise sizing. If you're raising 2 1/4, like I usually do, then maybe you open those pure. If you're not getting 3-bet that much by the button and the blinds, then I'd say, yeah, definitely open those pure, right? They're going to play very well. But they don't play that well against kind of like tougher opponents, right? So that's why the solver wants to fold them, because the solver is like, well, I play perfectly. Doesn't everybody else play perfectly? All right, so we are going to color these for the cutoff, and I might not have exactly the color I want. I can mess with that later. I think that's right. Right, so then down through queen 6 suited. It's funny because the 2.25x sims that I have, actually queen 7 suited is a fold, but queen 6 suited is a raise, which is just super odd. I don't know, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. All right, so we already said all of these, right? And we're gonna throw in ace 9 suited. We're gonna throw in these other, offsuit, the other offsuit Broadway cards and that. And I think 8-7 suited and 9-7 suited. And that looks to be it in terms of like pure plays, right? So these are the just like don't fold them, always raise them. And yeah, that's it for the hijack range. Now, we're going to raise, right? So not the hijack range, this is the cutoff range. The cutoff. Okay. Was I training the cutoff earlier? Or was that, yeah, I was, right? Gee. I don't know. This happens when you don't sleep enough. Yesterday was like my day off, but it wasn't really a day off. I need to do better at taking days off. Okay, so we're going to only look at the folds. Wait. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're going to only look at the folds because the folds are the ones that we are not going to add to the chart. So queen 5 suited is now going to be a pure play, right? We're going to go to big blind defense. So all the king X suited, right? We're going to play all of those. We are going to play queen 5 suited plus. We are going to play jack 7 suited as well. 10-6 suited, we're still folding pure. 9-5 suited, 8-4 suited. Here, let's move this way maybe. Right, 7-4 suited, all of a sudden we're playing pure, and we'll add that. and 6-3 suited, right? So all these suited 2x hands, these are all folding. We're folding up through queen 4 sometimes, right? We're mixing there. And then up through jack 6, 10-6, 9-5, 8-4, 7-3, 6-2. So it's this diagonal. Cool. Okay, now let's look at the offsuit hands. We'll slide this over. Woo. There we go. 9-8 still folding. And all the Broadways are continuing. And the ace-9 offsuit. So interestingly, if we look at the difference between the RFI chart and the big blind defense chart, like here in the upper left-hand corner where we're looking at the offsuit big cards, it's almost the same, right? The only difference is like King Jack and King 10 actually get added earlier as the big blind, as the razor, right? The razor adds those hands earlier. Whereas the suited hands, the big blind wants more of. And that makes sense. That makes sense. Should I explain how it makes sense? I guess so, right? Even if nobody's listening, it's always good to try to put into words. In my book, Way of the Poker Warrior, I talk about learning through teaching, right? Kind of the martial arts tradition of you learn something and then you try and teach it. And then by trying to teach it, I mean, maybe years later after you've spent a while learning it, but you try to teach it, and trying to put it into words is super helpful in terms of just learning to kind of understanding what you understand, right? Knowing what you know. So offsuit hands, the razor, these are big card hands, right? So big card hands are very attractive to open raise because if your opponents are playing optimally, their continue ranges are going to have a lot of big cards, but especially their 3-bet ranges, right? Because the 3-bet ranges really want to block the 4-bets. They want to block the continues. And if we open raise and we get 3-bet, our hands like pocket aces, kings, queens, ace king, ace queen, those are going to be hands that we're going to continue a lot, hands that we're going to 4-bet and deny equity to the 3-better. So it makes sense that these big card hands actually are pretty similar in terms of what you want to open raise and what you want to defend. And I imagine as the sizing goes even larger, it actually goes in the opposite direction, even further that way, where the big blind doesn't want to defend as much with these big cards. Instead, they want hands that are going to have going to be very live and be less dominated and have good implied odds against those big card hands. And as we can see, these, if we go back to the range that we do play, we get rid of the folds. Oh, there we go. You got to go the long way around to remove something. If we look at the range of hands we do play, especially like the calls, right? All these suited hands, I think, are going to have great playability against these other offsuit high card hands that the other player has. So enough of that. Let us go take a flop, right? So we will go. Oh, should we practice pre-flop? We should practice pre-flop, right? Let's practice pre-flop. First. The cutoff is so straightforward, but we'll do that first. We'll practice the cutoff a little bit. Yeah, okay. So we'll just do a little bit of pre-flop, like a few minutes, right? A lot of folding. Raising 29% of range. This isn't, maybe with the cutoff, it's not that essential because, I mean, I've definitely drilled a lot of cutoff ranges in my life, over time. Okay. And the idea isn't to get a bunch of post-flop spots. It's basically just to kind of just get reps pre-flop, right? It would be nice if there was an option to just have it cut off. Oh, you can skip hand. Yeah, we could do that. We could get to post-flop and then just skip hand. Let's try that. Because we're not studying post-flop right now. And I think when you learn a range, like doing something like this is it's super helpful. It's like, yeah, just drill it. Just do this for 5 minutes, right? Do 100 of them. This is not pure, right? We're going to fold this some. So, and then we're going to see a flop, and then I'm going to hit skip hand and we see what happens. Yeah, cool. All right. So that's how you do pre-flop only. Is a fold. And we'll do 20 hands because most of them are going to be folds. We should get about 6 playable hands. out of 20 if we're, you know, about 30% of hands we're playing. But, you know, randomness is a thing. I think we've only gotten 2 so far. We get even 2? Yeah, we got 2, right? Jack 10 off and 6-7 suited. Like 1.5 playable hands, really. So we're running cold. We're running super cold. Running cold is often very boring. Now, were we raising Jack 7 suited? I think this was like barely not making the cut. All right, so it was a mix. Yeah, so it was not in our pure hands. And, you know, you can try and remember which hands you're supposed to mix, but you can also just go by like a general heuristic. If the hand you're supposed to play pure is the next one up, then the one below it isn't necessarily a mix, but it is likely at least, like, if it's not a mix, it's what is it? It's at least a hand that you could probably exploitatively add when your opponents make you want to do that with that particular combo. All right, maybe we could 4-bet this occasionally. I think this is like a good cold 4 against like a low jack and then hijack, raise, and 3-bet, but we're just gonna fold. Yeah, it's like you can do it 2.42% of the time. The thing is, like, once you know you can do these things, there's a real danger of just doing them way too often, right? So we're gonna try and avoid that. We're gonna go 2 more hands. I guess we've gotten like 3 playable, 4 playable hands. Yeah, and sometimes this is how it goes. You get 2 out of 16, and then you get like the next 4. That's just, and it's like that's not random. That's what random is. But then sometimes it's just a totally, you know, obvious looking stretch. Okay, I guess that's it. And we fold, and cool. We went 21 for 21. Open raising the cutoff is easy, right? So now, how do we, is there an easy way to do this? Let's go through to here, and then, you know, we're learning to navigate this together, right, as we go along. And then we click fold small blind, which defaults button to fold. That should do it. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to play the big blind spot a little bit. Just try to get used to, like, what hands are we supposed to defend here. We're going to play it from the big blind spot. And I'm just going to hit skip when we get to the flop, because that's not where we're training yet, right? We want to study that. So we're going to fold this against a raise from anywhere, really. And you can always see, like, okay, what did they raise? All right, deuces, deuces, we call. Deuces, pure call. All right, terrible flop, let's skip it. That would be nice if real poker, you could be just like, oh yeah, let's skip that board. That's not a good board. Let me play the next hand and not have to face any decisions for any kind of EV here. Yeah, we're actually probably going to see a good amount of flops. I'm not sure what percentage range we're defending. I think we're defending like, I don't know, it feels like it's only in the 35-ish% range. Not sure it's even 40. It is a fold. Right? Because there's not that many extra offsuit combos. Suited combos don't add that much to the range. This is actually not even a hand we're playing. We're going to fold it. I've seen a lot of like defense recommendations that are very, I think, overzealous. I think this is probably a mix. Yeah, it's a mix, mostly call. All right. Let's just do 10 from the big blind because... you know, you want to get on with the show, right? We want to dig into some trying to learn what the heck is going on in post flop spots. How much different it might be from the hijack or the low jack. And I'm gonna say it's actually not going to be that much different. At some point, I think we might need some sort of comparative analysis. Of course, this is a hand we're going to see a flop with, in order to see like which boards are different, right? And then think like basically, I think there's something I'm not doing much thinking about while playing, and that's like, what is the lowest offsuit rank that a player has in their range? And then also, you know, things like, oh, can they possibly have the nuts here? Oh, I wanted to skip this. And this is a board that we are leading out a fair amount if you look here, right? So we'll do 3 more. This probably mixes. Yeah, you get to 3-bet a little bit. And you know, I already feel pretty comfortable. I think this hand we play a 2-gapper but 9-5 suited is probably a fold. And then that's a beautiful flop. So, yeah. Just gonna fold one more, right? One more. I guess that was 10. No, that was 9. All right, and this is clearly a hand we're going to defend. You can mix in a little bit of raising. I think it's very hard to get that raising right without some sort of randomizer. And at some point, I wonder whether people will consider a randomizer RTA, right? Because, I mean, it is something that's assisting you in making decisions. Like, you could look at a clock, and I don't think you could tell people you can't look at the clock, right? And, like, you could have a die. I don't know. I feel like non-electronic materials should mostly be allowed because there's certainly a ceiling on how much value somebody could get out of non-digital materials in like the sense of like real-time assistance. Like there's just definitely a ceiling on that. All right, let us go ahead to the spot, right? So we're going to hit call here. And that should take us to the viewer where then, yeah, big blind has called. It didn't do exactly what I wanted. Let's continue with our straight flush tradition of having a different straight flush of every suit every day. And then we actually just hit this thing here. What the? That's not the thing. This is the thing we hit. Okay. So the first question is how much donking will the cutoff be doing? Right? So, I'm sorry, the big blind. My words. Okay. How much donking does big blind do? And it is way less, right? 3.92%. Donking. And it was more in the 6 to 7% range for the earlier positions. Let's spend a moment and just think about why do we think this is. I think it might be because there's a lot of those small boards that the out of position player hits when they're facing an early position raise that those earlier positions don't have at all, right? There's more boards that out of position, that in position just totally whiffs on, but then they still have these over pairs. A lot of overcards. Whereas once we get down to the cutoff range, you know, the cutoff is raising, you know, down to king 3 suited, queen 6 suited, 9-7 suited, 8-7 suited, pocket 4s, right? Some frequency of 3s and 2s, even though we didn't put those in our pure range, they are in there, more of those suited connectors. So what happens is I think those small boards are not as much the domain of the out of position player. And I would not be surprised if against the button, there is even less donking. Like I'm almost tempted to look at it right now, but that's what tomorrow's for, right? Can't spoil our Saturday morning fun. All right, so let's see. Are there any boards that are high donk percentages? Yes, there are. They are basically boards where, let's see, 7-5, 7-4, 8-5. Are those hands even all in the big blind defense range? 7-4, 8-5. Yeah, so basically it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, but these look like boards where in position can have straights that, we're out of position, where big blinds can have straights that cutoff cannot have, right? I mean, ace-3, they can both have straights. But then 6-4 suited, right? So twice as many straights for out of position. Let's see. Let's go down to, yeah, 6-4. Okay, so let's just name the straights, right? 7-5 and 5 deuce. 7-4, 8-5, 8-6. 7-5, 7-5, 7-5, 7-4. Ace-3, but also 6-4, 7-4, 7-4, 5-3, right? That's in there. Ace-4, but also 6-4. So it looks very consistently that cutoff donks. Let me open that up. I'll actually bring my note over here, right? So you can see it. Big blind donks on boards. They have sole possession of some straight combos. Basically, sole possession of the nuts, right? They're going to do some donking on those boards. In theory, are people actually going to donk there? Not a lot of people, right? But, and, you know, we can dig in a little and be like, what are they donking here? What do we think they're donking? Like, I think that they are going to bet some hands like some nuts, right? But also a lot of draws, some gutters, maybe some hands like sets and 2-pair with some frequency, right? So if we look, it's just a mess of everything. It's just a freaking mess of everything. 7-5 is donking a lot. That is, let's see, 82% betting. Overall is 67. So 82% means 15% more than average, right? Straight draws, a lot of these straight draws are betting, not as much the ace high ones, but the weaker ones that, you know, can benefit more from it. A lot of these gut shots are betting. The under gutters even, right? The butt shots. Sets doing a fair amount of donking, right? More than the range overall. But then hands like ace 9, it's just like, yeah, I bet. What are you gonna do? I've got the nuts. You don't have the nuts. I got the nuts. If you raise, what are you gonna do, right? And in position, I think is gonna have some raises. Probably not a ton. Yeah, not a lot of raising, right? 4.7%. Like, they don't have the nuts ever. They don't have the second nuts ever. They've got these sets, but the sets have to be a little circumspect. They do not get to fold much at all against this donk. That's the thing, is like, do you think people call this much against third pot donk? 85% continue range? I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that people basically call everything except for offsuit broadways and, you know, overcard offsuit hands that like lack a backdoor flush draw. Sure, all the backdoor flush draws call, but like king queen off calling pure, continuing pure. Ace 9 is continuing pure. Ace 10, like, I don't know. King 8 with a backdoor flush draw is continuing pure. Not everybody. Ace deuce is a pure call. Like, I don't know. I mean, the pocket pairs, obviously every pair, right? But yeah, I think people might actually make mistakes against this, which, you know, is like, yeah, maybe that's a good reason to throw it in there. All right, so that's pretty much it for donking, right? I mean, we look at these and it's just all hands where big blind has a straight. So we could go back and look at the you know, hijack and low jack ones and see whether that's the case as well. We'll find out, but yeah, we'll see. All right, what else we got? Let's assume a check though, right? So we are going to, yeah, we don't need to really dig in further. We're gonna say big blind checks. This is probably super cool, but I'm not gonna mess with it yet. All right, and now we look at flops for what does the cutoff do? What does the cutoff do? The cutoff takes a while to load. Okay, so check 40%. Okay, so cutoff checks back 40%, which is more than the hijack checked back, which I believe was more than the low jack checked back, right? So as the ranges get wider, the checking range become, you know, we do more checking. And this looks like more of a kind of polarizing, right? If we look at it, we've got some, so bet 33 is 38%, we'll say. Bet 50 is 7.4%. And bet, was it 75 is 18.5%. So this is by far the most large betting that has existed in any of these matchups so far. When I say bet 33, bet 50, bet 75, that's percentage of pot, right? Because these numbers are like, you're like, oh, I bet 1.82. Well, unless you're playing an L100, you know, that's not going to be super useful. For what it's worth, I am playing a lot of NL100, so that is useful for me. But, you know, I feel your pain. So first, let's look at boards that check a lot, see patterns. A lot of ace-high boards that have the most checking. King high, queen high, ace high, ace high, ace high, king high. Like, high, low, low, a lot of high, low, low, right? So we'll say boards that check the most, ace high, especially ace low, low, some king high, queen high, right? So not these low boards, not a bunch of low boards, some 10-9 boards. There was like a 10-9-7. That makes sense, right? Jack 8 suited is the sole province of out of position. And the ones that do check a lot, some of them, these ace wheel really does not even use the large sizing much, whereas a board like ace 10 deuce, that's like large size or check. So next, let's look at what checks the least, right? Boards that check the least are paired boards, trip boards. We kind of already knew that. There's actually a lot of boards that are basically just range betting. Most of these seem like paired boards. All of these paired boards. Can I click that, it'll do that. All right. Oh yeah, so let's go to unpaired, right? And see. Yeah, so non-paired, unpaired boards that check the most, the least, are like Queen Jack 10, and that, look at that. These ones, Queen Jack 10 is just like bet large with range, basically. That's a special board. Bet 75 with range, almost. What other ones? Like some king high boards. All right, so there's the least checking on those ones. Yeah, some other high card boards. So this is the type of stuff that, like, generally you do a lot of digging and it can take time, right? You just gradually build up kind of a library of heuristics. So let's look at the hands that bet the large ones. Okay, so these are obviously Queen Jack 10 boards. And then below that, there's like Ace King 7, Ace King 8, Ace King 9. Also enjoy large sizing. Ace King 9, 8, 7 in parentheses, right? And 6 as well. 5. Is it like all of them? What about with the wheel card? Yeah, it's still a lot of these. Yeah, okay. All right, so like Ace King with a middle card, and then Jack 9 X, Jack 9X two-tone, stuff like that. Let's think about, is there some specific thing going on there? Does out of position have a bunch of sets removed from their range? Like Jack 8-4, are they 3-betting a lot of Jack now? That's an important thing to realize. Probably, right? Let's move on from this and look at just specific types of boards, right? We're just going to look at monotone boards. Okay, so monotone boards, again, right? This holds up across all the positions we've looked at so far. Monotone boards are checked over 50% now. Never use large sizings, right? So basically bet 33 half the time. And that's all monotone boards, right? The ones that check are the ones that check the most. Still ace wheel still check the most. Ace wheel still check the most. And the ones that check the least are the ones that we bet a lot. Yeah, these sort of like mid monotone boards check the least. Interesting. Okay, so that's something to notice, right? Like the ones with the lowest check frequencies, they're like 9 high, basically 9 high or lower. 9 high, 8 high boards. Interesting. All right, so let's go over to just rainbow, and we'll see rainbow has the lowest check percentage so far, right? Yeah, compared. So two-toned also checks a lot. We're gonna do this. So now two-toned checks 45% and mixes bet 33 and bet 75. This is, I think, a little bit different than it was in the cutoff and the hijack. And at some point, I will make a beautiful spreadsheet that shows basically what is going on with like position to position and kind of each of these, like monotone, two-tone, rainbow, paired, unpaired trips, disconnected, medium connected, and like I think there'd be a nice grid to make there. Basically the percentages overall, right? So two-toned actually does a lot of checking now, whereas rainbow still doesn't check that much. Only checks like 33%. Prefers small sizing, mixes some larger sizing. And I'm going to say defaulting to bet 33 with range is probably still okay, right? And by defaulting, I mean unless you're on a board that you say, oh, this board's special. This is a board where I definitely want to do something different. Let's go rainbow unpaired, right? Rainbow unpaired is check a little bit more. Paired, you know. Oh, paired? Rainbow paired is check. Huh. These paired boards, this is checking more, right? Than, I guess there's no monotone paired boards. But yeah, let's see whether the deuce X is still check using a larger sizing, right? So paired boards, big pair bets range. Okay, I need to make sure that on this note, I am saying cutoff, right? Cutoff, RFI versus big blinds call. That's important. That's an important element of the note. All right, it's still probably okay. So paired boards check 27%. Rarely use large sizings. And ace, ace X, king, king X. Let's go high. Let's just say high ranks. Check very little. Oh, this includes king 3-3, king 5-5. Those are the ones that, yeah, so the small pair is the one that checks the most, right? But like ace, queen, queen, ace 10, 10, that's probably a spot where you have to think through and think, okay, who does have more trips? Actually, both players have a fair amount of trips because you're playing all those offsuit Broadway hands in both positions, right? So king 10, queen 10, jack 10, ace 10, offsuit, right? All right, rarely use large sizings. High, low, low. Oh, so low pair. What is it? It's high card with low pair is most checked of paired boards. Right? So that seems like a heuristic. And then big pair, very little checking. And in fact, let's see when we get down to like, okay, this is kind of the middle, and these are eights, and then the middle ones are in the middle. King 3-3 actually is not as checked as like some of these other ones. Yeah, so high pairs, bet range for 33%. Okay, so that's paired boards. We'll just look at tripped boards for a moment. See whether, okay, forget this high. Yeah, basically bet range with all of them. Bet large on the smaller ones. And bet small on the large ones, right? Yeah, so trips are never checked. Played same as other positions, basically. Except mid boards do more large betting than they did in the other one. right? But you could probably just on Broadway boards, you bet third pot with range. On the mid cards like 5s through 6s, you bet half pot with range. And on the 2s and 3s and whatever, like you could probably bet 3/4 with range, but maybe you just want to go half with range anyway, kind of keep that consistent, right? So Broadway third pot with range. I'm going to make that a heuristic. I'm going to say Broadway trips, third pot with range, smaller trips, half pot with range. That's just like a heuristic. We can just boom, that's it. Okay, that's 13 flops. That's 1% of flops. So trips, knowing how to play trips, not that great or not that helpful. We filtered out monotone trips, unfortunately. But we had two-tone trip boards in case you got 2 queen of clubs. I have actually seen that kind of thing happen in a real card room where we had it was like 2 tens of clubs. I had to go to the cameras and look at, check it out. It was weird. Okay, let's look at connectedness next, right? So connectedness, disconnected. Let's see. Should we start with disconnected? Yeah, let's just start with. That's not how you do it. Okay, disconnected. So let's filter out monitor. Oh yeah, that's not how you. So it's a little frustrating. I wonder if you can right click. No, you can't. That doesn't work. Yeah. So it's like, in order to remove monotone, you have to click like rainbow and then two-toned. That's fine, because if you want just monotone, you click on monotone. Okay. 37. Check. And let's see, just rainbow, yeah, is 30%. So I guess you have to kind of compare these to the overall, right? Overall, what was rainbow betting? Rainbow checks only 33. Okay, so disconnected boards overall are betting a little more frequently. Let's look at the connected boards first, right? The actual straight boards. Connected boards are checking more. And the medium boards, the straight draw boards, are in the middle. Yeah, makes sense. Straight draw boards are in the middle. They enjoy larger sizings, but also some checking. So I think this is, I think you can play these boards with kind of like half pot or not. You can take all these sizings. Now, some of them ace high boards, it looks like just the small sizing, right? Ace high connected boards prefer smaller sizing. And I'll say semi-connected boards. So basically like ace middle. Okay, cool. Ace jack 10 is betting more, closer to range. There's a lot of nuts in that one. So I think this is a pretty not comprehensive, but I think that's enough on that for now. And we can now go on to how does big blind play versus cutoff c-bet. Okay, so overall, how do we think this is going to compare to the other ones? I think there's going to be more raising, and I'm not sure if there's more or less folding. I still think it's going to overfold, right? It's probably going to be in the high 30s, somewhere between, somewhere in the 30s, probably folding. I think the check raise is going to be closer to like 17-18%, maybe as high as 20% even. We're going to X out of this, and then we are going to say check bet, and then we will look at the big blind. So here's the sort of thing when we get a little bit more chat activity, people can place wagers on, or not wagers, but like make guesses, right? So overall, actually, it looks like that's way off, right? Raise is 5%. 5%. Oh, that's on this board. Okay, forget that. Scratch that. Let it be stricken from the record. Almost out of water. All right, what have we got here? We've got overall fold is about 35%, raise is about 15%. So these numbers are fairly familiar. Looks like a little less folding. So call 50.5%, fold 35%, raise 14.6%. Okay, so not that different, I don't think. I think this is a little less folding. I think the other positions, because in position had this, tighter, stronger range, there's probably more folding in the other positions. I was thinking that's probably a little bit countered by the lower c-bet percentage from the cutoff. However, humans might be over c-betting, as there's a lot of spots where I'm like, we could just bet range for third pot. And the solver's like, well, actually, we should check about 20-some% of range in order to. So against that, maybe we check raise more, maybe we fold less, or maybe we fold a fair amount, but we just mostly check raise more. So what is folding the most? Let's start with that. Okay, so these trip boards, 2 ace boards, ace 9-9 boards. These are like all ace high, king high, some jack 10-10. Yeah, so boards that we're folding the most are like big card boards, basically, especially ace high and paired boards, right? So those we're folding a lot. The ones that we are folding the least are these like 10 high, 9 high, kind of mid semi-connected boards, it looks like. Boards we're folding the least are like 10 high, 9 high, semi-connected boards. We'll say that, especially rainbow, it looks like. Right, I think all of these mean rainbow. The S, if you put the S before the end, then that means the first 2 cards are suited. If the S is at the end, then I think that means it's monotone. And let's look at raising, right? What's raising the most? 9-9, jack-jack, 10-10. So basically mid-paired boards, mostly paired boards, right? And then some boards where we have the nuts. This one here, 8-7-5, we've got 6-9 and 6-4, and the other player doesn't have any of that. So of course you get to raise a lot. Boards that big blind raises the most are paired boards, especially mid-paired boards, and boards with many straight combos for big blinds, right? That feels like that's something that's more useful than just seeing what happens here, right? That's understanding, like, hands with a nuttiness advantage, right? Basically boards with nuttiness advantage. Big blind gets to check raise more. That makes sense, right? The spots where you're not supposed to check raise much are where the in position player has most of the nuts, and you're like, well, what am I supposed to do? So let's take a look at that. That's probably going to be like queen jack 10, I bet, is going to be like close to 0, like pretty low. No, that's not up there at the top. But what is up there is like ace 10 deuce, ace jack deuce, queen jack 9. Both players are going to have king 10 there. King 10. Yeah, so like 2 big card boards and then ace wheel wheel. Ace king X, stuff like that. Least check raised boards are like ace 10 deuce, ace jack deuce. This is not how to do it. Basically ace wheel and monotone boards. What am I missing, right? I'm missing these are monotone boards. Look at that. All of these are monotone boards. We're still all in monotone boards. Wake me up when we get to, the entire first page is monotone boards. So I kind of buried the lead there. We're going to say monotone boards. Okay. And in fact, that'll just lead us straight in to looking at monotone boards. Let's look at monotone boards. Overall, 6% check raise, right? So, in fact, only 6% check raise overall on monotone flops, 34% fold, 60% call, right? So lots of calling there. Let's proceed to two-tone boards. Two-tone boards basically play like play kind of the way it is overall, like the overall strat, which makes sense. That's like 3/5 of all boards, give or take, are two-toned, right? So it makes sense that most of the boards would be that's kind of where the center is, right? And then rainbow is obviously going to be more check raising, although not that much more, right? Slightly more, and slightly more folding, I think, right? How much was two-tone folding? Yeah. All right, so rainbow is slightly more check raise, slightly less fold. All right, so that's pretty straightforward. We will stop filtering those out. Let's look at paired boards. Paired boards, lots of check raising, right? Lots of check raising. Trip boards, also lots of check raising. So paired and trip boards, lots of check raising, fair amount of folding, except on low trips, which has a lot less folding, right? I mean, you'll see these are in the 20s, right, for the 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s. Okay, so let's look at unpaired boards. Unpaired boards. Overall, we will now go to, so unpaired boards, lower check raise, right? That's like 13.4%. Let's look at unpaired disconnected, right? So unpaired disconnected has not a ton of check raise, not a whole big lot to learn there, I think. If we sort this, I thought I sorted this by this. Yeah, so 9 high, 8 high boards have the most check raising. How are those disconnected? How is 9-8 deuce disconnected? I don't understand. 9-8 3, how is that disconnected? Those feel connected. Or those feel medium, right? Isn't that medium? So medium, yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's go away from those. Let's go to ranks, right? Low, pretty high check raise. Middle, medium check raise. High, lowest check raise, right? So, yeah. So check raise more on lower boards, less on higher boards. And I think that's about it. That's pretty good for what we're going to learn in terms of generalities. Let's see. I have been having buffering issues, says Buffy Bot. More like buffering bot. Am I? No? Okay, sorry. Hopefully that is just you, and I hope that resolves for you. If not, then I'll check the VOD after. This is about an hour and change in, right? So I'll see whether that Skype and OBS doesn't seem to be having things. So I think maybe that's a local issue. But thank you for letting me know, and I will look into whether it's a thing that is causing issues overall. All right, let us go to this spot. And we are now going to play the spot. We'll say any, and we will try again, not predefined. We will go to all, and I'll take a little bit of a breath. And first, let's actually do a little bit of review, right? We'll just review here, bring this up on screen. Go to the top. Okay. Cutoff raise first in versus big blind call. So how much donking does the big blind do? About 3.9%. That's less than they did against the hijack and the low jack. Big blind donks on boards, they have the sole possession of some straight combos, sole possession of the nuts. So cutoff checks back 40%, bets 38% of the small sizing, and the large sizing 18.5%. So that's more of the larger sizings and more checking back than, so a little bit more kind of polar than in the other positions than the low jack or hijack did when they could have c-bet. Okay, boards that check the most: ace high, especially ace low low, some queen high, king high. Boards that check the least are paired boards, trips boards. Unpaired boards that check the least are like queen jack 10. Of course, you could just bet, you know, as much as you can bet with range because you've got all the ace king, right? The other person has very little, probably no ace king. Some other high card boards also enjoys the larger sizings like ace king with some middle card, jack 9x two-tone. I think boards like ace king 10 are treated a little differently because now all of a sudden your ace king and your pocket aces, pocket kings, those suddenly become second tier value hands when the other person can have 16 combos of queen jack. Or probably more like 14 or 12 or something because there's some 3-betting going pre-flop. But that you know, that definitely decreases that nuttiness edge. And I think when you start adding 2s and 3s, because the cutoff doesn't always 3-bet those, now there's some sole sets for out of position. So the sets are more like, you know, 6 to 3 as opposed to like 9 to 3, right? Whereas if it's like ace king 9, in position can have 9 sets, out of position can have 3 sets. If it's ace king deuce, if the cutoff is folding deuces mostly, which they are in the sim, in real life, if you're raising pocket deuces, then that probably plays more like an ace king 9 than the ace king deuce in this sim. Okay. Jack 9x two-tone also likes using that large sizing. Monotone boards are checked over 50%. That's a lot. Never uses the larger sizing. Bet third pot basically. Ace wheel still does a lot of checking. Mid monotone boards check the least. 9 high boards, 8 high boards. Two-toned checks 45% and mixes bet 33 and bet 75. So they kind of want to go either small or big, not in the middle. Rainbow only checks 33%. Prefers small sizing, mixes some large sizings. We can probably default to bet third pot with range. Paired boards check 27%. That's not a lot. Again, we can probably bet range. Prefers small sizing, mixes some larger sizings. That's just rainbow, right? Okay, paired boards. Oh, no, that was paired boards. Sorry. High card with a low pair is the most checked of paired boards. So this is very way ahead, way behind. Treated more like a monotone or like a straight board. High pairs bet range for 33%. So like ace 9 or something like that, right? King queen, I think. Maybe not king queen, but probably. Trips are never checked. Played the same as other positions, except mid boards do more large betting, right? Broadway trips third pot with range. Smaller trips half pot with range. Disconnected boards overall are betting a little more frequently than connected boards. Connected boards checking more. Straight draw boards are in the middle, of course. They enjoy the larger sizing, but also some checking. So that's the sort of, I like to treat those boards kind of half pot or not. How does big blind play versus the cutoff c-bet? Wow, I've got a lot of information on that. I'm getting almost lightheaded from talking so fast. Okay, let's take a breath. All right, boards that we're folding the most are big card boards, especially ace high, and paired boards. Boards we're folding the least are 10 high, 9 high, semi-connected boards, especially rainbow. Boards that big blind raises the most are paired boards, especially mid-paired boards, and boards with many straight combos for big blind. Boards with a nuttiness advantage, in other words. Big blind gets to check raise more. So yeah, if big blind has, you know, if it's a paired board and you're going to have a lot of trips, you get to check raise a lot, right? If you've got a lot of combos of straights, like nut straight, second nut straights, and the other person doesn't have those, you get to check raise a lot. That makes sense, right? Any type of board where you have the nuttiness advantage, you get to raise more. That's just how it works. The least check raised boards are monotone. That's, again, this is kind of like way ahead, way behind. Monotone boards often get played very passively. In fact, only 6% check raise overall on monotone flops, 34% fold, 60% call. Two-tone boards play like the overall strategy, right? Not the monotone strategy. Rainbow is slightly more check raise, slightly less folding. So rainbow, you get to be a little stickier, a little more aggressive when you're out of position. Monotone, you got to be a little bit more passive, but you're still not folding a ton. Paired and trips boards, lots of check raising, fair amount of folding, except on low trips. Unpaired disconnected has not a ton of check raises. Check raise more on the lower boards, less on higher boards. Okay, cool. Now let us play the spot for like 10 to 20 minutes, and then maybe we'll call it a day. Maybe we'll actually shift. Yeah, we'll do a different thing at the end. Okay, this type of board, I think probably not a ton of check raising. Kind of, this is probably going to be the medium strategy. They can probably c-bet this for range. This seems like a decent hand to check raise a little bit. I am mostly going to call it. I don't think I want to be folding this. It's probably a little too strong, but maybe it's okay to fold. Maybe I need the king of diamonds to continue. Let's see. No, pure continue. Okay. And a little bit of check raise is okay. And in fact, I can lead that a little, but in general, we're not leading that much. So I'm going to check again. I don't think this is a card I really want to be raising. Leading. I think it's a tough card to put in raises on too, because like what nuts do I have? I have pocket threes, pocket fours, 3-4 suited, some queen jack I can rep. This seems like a decent hand to use as a bluff, as it's one of the few that like picked up good equity, but I think I can call because I have an overcard. I don't know if I want to block flush draws though. I don't know. It feels like if I called flop and I'm folding here, what am I doing? But yeah, you mostly fold. It was an actual overbet, right? Did they actually overbet or they bet pot? What does it say? Should say somewhere. I should be able to figure it out. 13. That would have been 26, 10. Yeah, actually, I think because it was an overbet, I could have folded. And that's rough, you know, but I guess just the expectation is they're checking back a fair amount. All right, so they're jamming. I mean, I'm pretty clearly folding this, but like, are they jamming sets now because they just don't think I can get here with, it's like hard to get here with straights, right? Like ace, king of diamonds, no. 9-8 of diamonds, king 9 of diamonds is about it. Clearly folding, right? But ace deuce, wow, okay. So if we go back here, what was their bet sizing? They did bet pot, pot and a half. I guess I just get to fold this for pot and a half, even though it said my call was fine. But yeah, we'll just go back to fold. Okay, next. And it will be a mix of cutoff and big blind, I believe. Although, is it always going to be big blind because it's this out of position? I don't know. Maybe not. All right. This feels like a board that I do get to check raise some. This feels like a hand that maybe I get to check raise some. I can pick up equity on a lot of cards. Let's go for it and see whether it likes it. It's probably questionable. Pure fold. I think this is a hand that like it can work against humans, right? I mean, people probably they probably bet more than range here. I mean, they probably bet range. It's hard to bet more than range, but they probably bet range and then overfold to a check raise. But yeah, Solver's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is like arguably one of my worst hands, right? Because it's 9 high, anything like 6 high, even 7 high. I'm going to have a more obvious, backdoor straight draw. Here I was thinking, I can hit an 8 and have a sneaky double gutter. Computer doesn't care about sneaky, right? It's like, sneaky. Like, I know your strategy. I play perfectly. You have to play perfectly against me. That's how it is. That's how it works. All right, monotone board, no donking, no check raising, and or very little check raising. I mean, I think we just keep giving up. At some point, maybe we can turn our hand into a bluff. I still have king high, which has like some value. On this is like one of the worst hands I can ever have here. Maybe I do want a diamond to be bluffing. I don't know. I think maybe I can use it as a bluff occasionally. Yeah, it's like, sure, why not? Why not? Get them to fold ace high. All right, in position. This kind of board, connected, like straight available boards. I think we're doing a fair amount of checking. Is this the half pot or not? No, that's more with the straight draw available. So I think we can go third pot. I think this is a decent hand to have in my checking range some, but I think I can get value as well. All the bet sizes seem reasonable, but I think the smaller bet size is more likely to get actual value. And yeah, it likes the big or the small, and the check is fine. So no real news there. A lot of times it's just like, yeah, that's fine. So they check again, and now like I can either go really big and like I can't get them to fold anything better, can I? Like, are they folding two pair? I don't think so. So you know, can I get that much value at this point? I'm not sure. Like I mean, I think there are two pair hands that can check call, king jack they can still have as well. I don't see a lot of value in game. I usually bet this, and I would usually go kind of a medium, like 3/4 size. I'm gonna go ahead and check and see what it thinks of that. It mostly wants to bet. It likes all the sizings. Super helpful. Thanks, Pio. Or thanks, Simple Poker. Thanks, GTOBase. And here, I imagine I'm going to use different sizings. Flush draw does not seem particularly concerning. First of all, it was a backdoor flush draw. Second of all, you know, they could have led the river. So I think I get to bet here kind of with impunity. I think it's either like pot or it's a small size. Let's use the small size. It wants the bigger sizes. It doesn't love this sizing. Yeah, and now they like, what the heck is this? What the heck is this? I mean, I'm just gonna fold, I guess. But like, look at this. I bet 2, and they made it 95. And the pot was 9. So, yeah. Okay. And they check raise because, you know, I'm supposed to bet a lot. Sure, why not? Why not just put all the chips in? I mean, against a human, like, you're only getting called by flushes, obviously. But, like, you probably, the smaller flushes, I don't think are all heroing you off. This is hilarious. This solver really likes jams. Like, really likes massive overbet jams. It's just like, I don't see why we can't put all the chips in. All right, this board, high card boards, I think I get to bet pretty frequently. I'm not too worried about getting check raised that frequently. Both players can have ace queen, queen 9 suited. So in terms of nuttiness, pretty equal. In terms of second tier value, obvious advantage for the cutoff with all the pocket kings, pocket jacks, and even tens. I think the big blind is 3-betting here a fair amount. This hand does not feel like one that can get that much value. I mean, obviously I can deny some equity, but I don't think I can even deny that much. I think a small bet does very little. So if we're betting, I mean, it does want a small bet if we're betting, but yeah, on board, like basically we can use small bet with range. And they overbet the turn, and I think I just get to fold this. I don't think this is that high in my checking range. Yeah, just pure fold. They turned to set, so obviously if I had bet the flop, they would have folded that equity, so that's some of the merits of betting the flop. But out of all the hands, this is one of the hands that it wants to check the most, right? Overall with range, it was checking like 20 to 30%. This hand, it was checking like 60, 70%. So I feel good about identifying that, like, yeah, that's a pretty decent check anyway, if you're going to have checks. All right, ace 9-3, I think this is a board that we do a lot of checking. This feels like a hand that is a very prime check candidate, so I'm going to check it back. It says you can bet it a little, you know, you kind of mix strat on flop, and this is kind of in between. It's one of the more checkable hands. Here, I think I also check and then value bet river, although I've seen the solver bet hands like this for like third pot, half pot on turn. Yeah, so it is mostly check back, and we'll see what the river is. Now, on this card, I don't even think I have value. I think I just take my showdown. Yeah, pure check back. And with strategy overall, I mostly want to be using some larger sizings, as this is like a very kind of polarizing card, right? I mean, I wonder how much I can probably bet some ace X and try and get calls by king X. Yes, right? Flop one check. Yeah, so that's a thing. All right. Ace king queen. This is not a board I think I get to do very much on. Whether I even get to call all these gut shots, I'm not sure. I would expect, yeah, some of the larger bet sizings I think with no heart and no diamond, I might just get the fold here. Let's see what happens. Yeah, pure fold. Nice. You know, they had the same straight draw, plus a pair, plus a backdoor flush draw. So it was going to be hard to win that pot. Running sevens. Okay, here, monotone board. Oh, I messed up positions. Monotone board, so we do a lot of checking, right? So I don't think that was a big mistake. I am blocking the third nut flush. The ace and the queen being on board means that there are not a ton of flushes in my opponent's range, either, right? There's a bunch of nut flushes though. So I don't see raising here. Like maybe you can get value, but I think there's just too many flushes. Yeah, it's just a pure call. And if the river's a brick, again, maybe you can occasionally raise, but it's probably just like one of the best calling hands you're going to have. They check it. The solver, I feel like, really likes these pot size bets on the river. I do have the diamond, which makes it easier to bet a little larger more frequently. The question is, what am I getting value from? There's some like ace X hands, some, you know, kings up type hands, aces up type hands. I'm kind of drawn to this magenta sizing. Yeah, okay, so it liked the half pot or a third pot bets. And they do call the hero off with second pair, but also blocking the straight and blocking the flush. So this does look like a very nice bluff catcher. You'll see down here, it wants to jam this hand as a bluff for like 21% of the time. Okay, that's rough. That's rough. That's mean. That's just very mean-spirited. Okay. Top pair on a monotone board, no kicker. This does feel like a hand that can benefit from denying equity, can probably get value from a lot of the same hands that they're either denying equity or getting value from them. Do I want to go ahead and do that? Basically, it's third pot or not. So I'll do that, but I do recognize this as a hand that maybe would prefer checking. Yeah, okay, 50-50. No problem. Moving on. Let's get like 20 hands out of this. Okay, we're out of position. Monotone board. Ace, small, small. They do a lot of checking, I think, on these boards. Here, I probably am still doing a lot of checking, but I think I can get some ace high hands to, king high hands to fold. You know, hands like queen jack without the jack of hearts. So I do think there's some value in betting here. Not a ton, though. So I'll throw the bet out. Do I want to go bigger, though, to try and maybe get some, like, I don't know, are hands like pocket sevens without a heart folding? I'm not sure. I'm kind of going small, and that's just bad. Yeah. I kind of knew that. I kind of felt like if you're going to bet this, you have to bet big. Like, they fold exactly the hands that I said, right? They had exactly the hand that I could target with this size. But really, it's just if you're going to turn this into a bluff, go big with it. Try and get them to fold some pairs. I'm curious what they do fold to the... Let's click through on that, shall we? All right. We're going to go over here. We're going to say, let's say we use the... Oh. Why is that... I don't understand. Why did that go to that? Is it the wrong one? Oh, here we go. Okay, I went to the wrong one. Ace 6-3. If on the turn I use, say, the overbet size, are they folding ace X? Woo, look at that. Look at that. They're supposed to fold a lot of top pair. So that's why we use the overbet size, right? That's what it's there for. It's to get them to fold top pair. Cool. All right, good to know. I was kind of pessimistic that there would be top pairs folding, but apparently that's a thing. They've got to mix with it. So that overbet puts them at this spot of indifference with a lot of hands. That's pretty rough. And then they probably, yeah, okay. So I am in the cutoff. The board came big, big, little. This feels like a decent hand to be c-betting with, as I'm going to have a lot of turn cards I can barrel. I think on a board like this, I can go half pot or 3/4. Let's do the half pot. It wants the 3/4. Okay. So I was kind of leaning that way, but then I think some of my heuristics are a little bit too, you know, like I was thinking, okay, well, you can half pot on these boards a lot, but maybe let's 3/4 more. All right, ace 5-9, out of position. We are not going to have any donks here to speak of. They bet small. I think pocket threes we can just fold. I think there's just an underpair to everything. Just call 100%. You call 100% and it's worth a nickel. Okay. Let's replay it. Let's see what I'm supposed to... I mean, the turn's going to be easy, right? We just check call here. And, oh, are we getting a free turn? No. Okay, so we have to call all our pairs, I guess, on this board. I thought they weren't c-betting that much, so we actually get to make some folds. Now they check it back, and we bink a 3 on the river. No, it's a 10. Okay, so now we check, and I mean, I think clearly we just fold. Maybe if they bet larger on the flop, we get to fold, probably. All right, next hand. Maybe if it's a... I wonder if if it's two-tone, if that makes it easier to fold. All right, it's monotone. We don't have a spade. We don't have a pair. We do have a gut shot. I imagine we might be able to bet this at a low frequency, but it's mostly a check. No, it's mostly a bet, but we do check it at some frequency. So it's in between. Now when they bet this size, I think we comfortably fold. And that's probably why we want to be betting the flop. They had the same hand, but with the spade, which is actually a much better hand. Okay, out of position paired board. We get to check raise these a fair amount. We get to lead them some as well, I believe. However, I don't think we are check raising a hand like this. I think this is probably close to a call, but I am unblocking all of the flush draws, which means I don't have any equity from a backdoor or anything. But I think this is close. Maybe we get to call. Pure fold. Pure fold. Okay. Next. Maybe ace jack we get to call. All right. Here, again, I think we can donk some. No donks. No donks. I think we get to check raise this board some. Is this a hand we really want to check raise? Probably not much. Maybe some. Yeah, just a little bit. Overall, we are check raising a decent amount on this board, right? 16.5%. And I think we check again. And I imagine we call almost any bet size. And then probably bet the river for value, unless it's like an ace king or yeah, basically that. The 9, I think we can get bet for value. Can we go like pot and try and get calls from all the pocket pairs? Maybe. Or do we bet smaller? I'm going to go with the pot because I just feel like, no, it wants the smaller sizing, but it does call with pocket twos, right? So this seems fine. I don't really understand why, if it's classifying this as an error. It's not. Okay. So yeah, this is fine. But in general, it wants a slightly smaller bet. But, third pot, half pot, three-quarters pot, all of those are fine. So in other words, solver doesn't care that much. Basically, bet how much you think a human will call you in real life if you're against a real, a person that you think is not going to be super balanced, or just pick a size and do it with your bets, value bets and your bluffs. All right, here, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a decent check raising hand, but I don't think this is a board we check raise that much. Decent check raising hand because, it's this bottom pair. It's kind of semi-bluff. Maybe we get 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s to fold. I do think we can clearly call this at least. Yeah, and it likes check raising it, right? Half the time. Okay, well spotted. I think check fold to a large bet, check call a small bet seems right here. Like a very small bet. And now can we bet like 228 and try and get value from like ace high? I don't know. I'm not convinced, but maybe. No. It's not a value bet. If they bet like half pot, we beat all of their bluffs, except for like if they had like ace deuce on the flop. We unblock pretty much like all the reasonable bluffs, I think. I don't know. I feel like we can call. Yeah, it's borderline. They are value betting at 10 with no kicker, so that's pretty thin, and that's the reason that we have a tough time. If they're bluffing correctly but not value betting a hand like that, then I think we have a very profitable call, very easy call. All right, monotone board, gonna do a lot of checking. We did have that gutter butter before, and I think maybe we get to bluff with this. Yeah, we can bluff with it some, and they just fold. I do think against humans, we had a good comment yesterday that against people like exploitatively, you can bet way too much on monotone boards, and that's fine, and people just overfold. So there's really not a ton of folding supposed to be done on monotone boards, and it's hard to figure out how many hands to call with, right? This board, I don't think we necessarily want to turn this into a bluff. I mean, I feel like I could probably bet pot and a half and get some folds of bigger pairs and definitely deny a lot of equity, but I also think checking this is fine. Oh, hey, look at that. Look at that. It loves this as an overbet. Nice. I'm happy with that. Now, does that mean that I want to turn this into a check raise bluff? Because they just have so few nuts. I mean, this is probably a fold, but whatever. Let's do it. Let's do it. It likes it. It's not a fold. It is a call or a check raise. All right. All right. Is that going to work in real life? I don't know. Probably, right? Like, what do you have? What do you have? Really? Like ace deuce, pocket deuces? I don't think so. You got pocket jacks. You're trying to get some value after, you know, it goes check, check, and then I check. All right, a board like this, these low boards. I'm trying to remember. What do we do on these low boards? Do we bet less? I think we bet less. I think a hand like this is just kind of trash, and we probably bet it like 23% of the time. That was pretty good. We bet it 26% of the time. So I'm pretty happy with that estimate. Here on this card, oh, this looks like a good card to bet. Can we go big though with like ace X? If we can, we basically want to bet here whatever we can bet with ace X. We're blocking, I mean, ace king they don't have, king 8 suited, ace 10 suited, I guess, and offsuit. I'm gonna turn this into a bluff now. No, pure check, pure check. Solver says, what are you doing? What are you doing? Way out of line. Way out of line. I think it's probably pretty reasonable spot though in real life. Minus 25 cents though, 24 cents. All right, we're checking this. I think they're going to use larger sizings on it. Am I correct? No, small size. Probably mixed call and fold, my guess. Pure fold, pure fold. Okay. They are going to hit that pretty often, and they're probably not going to bet with air that much because they have so many draws to go with so many like pairs and stuff. Okay, here, I think again this is going to be sort of a mix. I think we're going to bet more than we're going to check though. Yeah, and it uses all the sizings. This feels like a very good card to barrel. I'm just going to go pot and a half. We've got a gut shot to the nut shot. And we've got a lot more king X in our barreling range than they have in their check call range. Yep, solver likes it. It can go 3/4 as well. Yeah, just fold all your pairs. Just fold all your pairs. Give me the chips. And if you want to try and hero off with that, like I still got 10 outs, right? So against a hand like ace 9, I've got 10 outs. So it's like pretty high equity semi bluff. We just blast it. All right, this feels like a hand that maybe we can turn into a check raise bluff, although usually it's more the combo draw type things we want to do that with. And then here, again, I think maybe, do I have too much value to turn this into a bluff? I don't know. I think I can check raise bluff this as well, but maybe it's just a check call. I mean, it also makes a good check call against this sizing still. I think they've got tons of bluffs. We can bluff catch, we can call one. So I think call or raise are both fine. Solver says, no, just call. Call's good. No need to turn this into a bluff. I mean, now on the river, like, can I turn this into a bluff? I've got some ace X, whatever. It doesn't want me to. Okay. What time is it? 11:45. All right, we've been going a while. Let's do one more hand. Last hand, then we're going to wrap it up. All right, 6-9. Nice. Check. We'll start with a check. I don't think we have many donks on this board. It feels like a classic check call. This turn is not a very good card. For my range, I feel like it's a good card for their range, right? Check back. People check back a lot of ace high. I don't think I can get value here. I don't think I get better hands to fold. So betting makes no sense to me at all. And they have pocket fives, and we get to win. Okay. That's it. Let me do the thing. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And if you're on YouTube, hit like and subscribe. And if you're on Twitch, then yeah, join me tomorrow at 10 a.m. I will be doing button versus big blind again. Well, again with the studying and the, yeah. Okay, all right, get out of here. Bye.